Hello and welcome back to Bookish Theories. In today's video I would like to talk about BTS's track list for Map of the Soul 7, focusing on a little breakdown and analysis of the titles and what they can tell us about the upcoming album. Now, surprisingly enough, Map of the Soul 7 also includes 5 out of 7 songs from Map of the Soul Persona, which is an interesting choice because it kinda confirms the idea that we should see the two albums as part of the same story. This makes sense because the release of Interlude Shadow and Outro Ego already hinted at the idea that everything is connected. But Microcosmos and Home here are still missing, so it's plausible to believe that at some point we'll get a repackaged version with all the songs and some new ones as well. For now, however, there's already quite a lot to unpack here, so let's focus on the songs that are there to see what's going on. Much like Map of the Soul Persona, Map of the Soul 7 is exactly what it says it is. It's a map. A series of directions that we need to follow in order to get to the destination of our journey. Since its design was based off Carl Jung's Map of the Soul, the destination we are heading towards is the same as well. The point here is to reach individuation, the achievement of balance among all parts of our identity that is meant to lead us to become the best version of ourselves possible. Back in Persona, this journey began with RM asking himself who he is, and the rest of the album focused on the exploration of the different aspects of their persona and how this persona interacted with both the outer world and the inner world. Since Persona ended with Dionysus, which is a god that represents a metaphorical bridge between the persona and the shadow, it makes sense that in 7 this song is followed by the interlude and by Black Swan, because the two songs here deal with the shadow concept and portray the darker aspects of our identity. This choice, however, also implies that the rest of the songs are placed in a certain order, meaning that all the titles that we see between Interlude Shadow and Outro Ego are meant to lead us on the second part of our journey, which will teach us how to deal with the shadow, get in touch with our ego, and therefore achieve balance. Now, since On is the title track here, my guess is that the song represents a turning point that marks the beginning of the resolution. In a recent V-Live, V and RM said that the title track will be very empowering. So this means that if Shadow and Black Swan deal with the shadow taking over, so to speak, track 8, 9 and 10 could deal with them facing their shadow, while On will be the starting point of them actually overcoming it. If we take a look at the titles here, this actually makes sense. Track 8, for instance, is called Filter, a title that implies an alteration of some kind. If you think about it, a filter is something that either refines or purifies something else. And in the context of the Map of the Soul, the persona is a great example of that, because it shows the best part of our personality while blocking the more negative ones. Maybe the song will actually revolve around them removing the filter and opening talking about what's behind it. That is the shadow that they hide behind the persona. This idea is also fitting with the following song, which is called Shija, a word that could either mean jet lag or parallax. Now this one is very interesting because on the one hand, if it's referring to jet lag, the song could be about how their lifestyle negatively affects them mentally. According to a Jung biographer, Jung actually hated jet travels because the body went too fast for the soul to catch up. So the song could be playing around with this idea. On the other hand, however, if the track is about a parallax, then it refers to a difference in the apparent position of an object viewed from a distance. You know when you're looking at something that's far away and then you change position and it looks like that thing moved even if it didn't? Well, that's what a parallax is. It's basically an illusion of change based on your perspective. So the song could be about how some army think that the boys have changed even if they didn't. This is just a guess, of course, but this issue was already explored back in Make It Right. So maybe they're gonna talk about it again by focusing on the darker aspects of this problem and how it affects them personally. Next up we have Louder Than Bombs, which is a song that was co-written by Troye Sivan, Ali X and Bram Inscore. This is another song that I cannot wait to hear, because the title could be a reference to a movie from 2015 with the same name. This movie deals with the themes of depression and trauma and how quiet issues like these ones are louder than bombs in the lives of those affected by them. The story here constantly jumps back and forth from past to present, and it also focuses a lot on the contrast between reality and somebody's perception of reality. So once again, I'd say that the concept is very fitting with the album. Now, for the title track, we have very little to go on, besides the fact that it's gonna be empowering and that Sia will be featured in the remix. Since the song is called On, however, the track could actually be connected to No, which is a song that was referenced back at the Melon Music Awards and that deals with young people's pressure to succeed and the importance to follow your dreams no matter what society tells you to do. Now BTS's dreams have turned into a reality, and even if this reality is different from what they expected it to be, maybe the point is to show that you can overcome your shadows and move forward, because you are strong enough to do so just like they are. Next up we have track number 12, whose title I'm not even attempting to pronounce. Now this is a fun one because in Korean that sound is usually used when somebody cannot control their anger, which implies that this could be a diss track of some sorts. This makes sense because at this point we are getting to the stage of the story where it's time to fight back, maybe by showing a more aggressive side to confront the shadow. What's interesting here is that if you flip the word upside down, it actually spells the word joke. So this could imply that this song could have a similar vibe to Dang. Now this opens the question of who will actually perform these songs, because if we consider that Persona, Shadow and Ego are solos and that Jamais Vu is sang by a unit, this means that there are 4 solos left and other 2 units that need to have their songs. At this point, there's no way of knowing who will perform what, but the next song could very well belong to one of the units left. Now, when I first saw the title 0 O'Clock, the first thing that came to mind was the song 4 O'Clock performed by RM and V. That song was actually about a night V and Jimin spent at the park. So maybe this could be a clue that we'll see a unit made out of 2 of these members. Either way, the fact that it's called 0 O'Clock is an indication that we're moving forward. Midnight can be seen as a moment of reflection where you're sad and alone. But it's also the beginning of a new day, a moment of change, so to speak, that is also reflected in Inner Child. Now, Inner Child is a very interesting one because, according to Jung, the inner child is a representation of the true self of an individual. This is super important because the inner child is also the symbol of the creative spirit that we usually repress when we are adults. It's the passion for creation. It represents the human need for self-expression and self-realization. So the fact that there is a song called Inner Child here implies that the boys are finally getting in touch with their true selves and reconnecting with the creative spirit that the shadow almost destroyed in Black Swan. If the song is indeed about this topic, what they're describing here is not an easy task. But being surrounded by people that love you and accept you can actually help you with that. And this is where Chingu comes into play. Now, in Korean, Chingu means friend. And this one definitely feels like a solo or a unit song. Besides the fact that it's gonna be about friendship, there's not much to go on about this one. But Moon, on the other hand, may hide yet another clue that we're heading towards the end of our journey. Now, according to Jung, the moon is a feminine symbol of the self that represents the development of the discussion between the conscious and the unconscious. This is extremely important because it connects us right back to what I said in my video about outro ego. In the outro, we see Hobi losing consciousness and then transforming into different gods. The gods there represented the self, which can communicate with the ego when the person is asleep. This communication allows the self and the ego to work together in order to achieve balance. And the moon is the symbol of this communication, which implies that both respect and we are bulletproof eternal are meant to lead us right to the end of our journey. Now, when it comes to respect, there's very little to go on here. My guess is that since ego talks about them learning to trust themselves, respect could be about the self-respect they acquired through this journey. But the song I want to truly focus on here is We Are Bulletproof Eternal, because this one is actually very telling. We Are Bulletproof Part 1 and Part 2 are two songs that kind of reflect the beginning of their journey and how dedicated they were to succeed. The title here reflects who they are, who they were, and who they will be, which is BTS, a group of bulletproof boys with big dreams and a calling to follow. The fact that we are getting We Are Bulletproof Eternal connects us right back to the eternal journey mentioned at the Mama performance. This implies that no matter what happens, the boys will be forever part of BTS and BTS will be forever part of the boys. Like they say in outro ego, now they know themselves. It was a difficult journey and they suffered because of that, but now they are ready to move on and do things their way. Thus showing us the achievement of balance, the ending of this journey and the beginning of a new one. So that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please think about liking and subscribing. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.